Ladies and
the
gentlemen,
Caitlin Clark
the official
stimulus
Caitlin
act
Clark
just
financial
got approved by
bailout
Congress
bill
today.
has just
It's
cleared
been
the
last
Senate
time,
floor.
a new
It is poetic that whenever ink hits paper in the high-stakes, multi-billion-dollar coliseum of global athletics, the single greatest magic trick a labor union pulls is convincing the world that every single employee brings the exact same value to the table. The second a tidal wave of cash crashes onto the shore, union reps rush to the microphone, take an arrogant victory
public
lap,
relations
and
victory lap
insist this fortune
and
was
claim that
built
the
by the
entire
hard work of the
workforce
entire
organically
village,
generated
equally
that
shared.
wealth.
However, if you tear down the media spin, ignore the
Congratulatory
backslapping
press
releases, and
releases,
stare directly
and
at the
deeply
cold,
examine the
hard
actual
data, a
mathematical
far more savage
spreadsheets,
truth
a
stares
much more
back at
brutal
you. Money is almost never made democratically.
economies.
In the star-driven entertainment
99%
game,
of the revenue
99%
is typically
of the profits
generated by
usually
less
come
than
from
1% of the
1%
workforce.
of the talent.
And right
Music.
now,
Currently, the WNBA Players Association is patting itself on the back for a payday they had virtually no hand in creating.
they
are
absolutely did not
bold-facedly
organically
claiming
generate.
authorship of a
They are
total
aggressively
economic
taking
miracle
credit for a
that nobody
completely
saw
unpredictable.
coming. We are watching a masterclass in corporate socialism where
The
lightning in a bottle
unprecedented
fame
cultural
of one specific
momentum
rookie
of a single
is literally signing the
generational
paychecks
point
for
guard
hundreds of
is
athletes
currently
who
funding
sell
the
zero
bank
tickets.
accounts of
Step inside the analysis.
expose the
time to reveal
unvarnished
the raw,
mathematical truth behind the
bones of this
WNBA's brand new
profit-sharing
revenue-sharing
scheme, the
payout, the
calculated
highly
merchandise deals, and the harsh wake-up call a billionaire tycoon just served to the league. Music. To grasp the sheer scale of the charade playing out right now, you need to revisit the specific history of the WNBA's music legal
collective
framework.
bargaining agreement.
5 years ago, in
Back in
2020,
the year
the union and
2020,
the owners inked a
the
deal
players'
containing a
union
widely
and the
hyped,
ownership
yet purely
group
theoretical
signed a
bonus
CBA
clause.
that
The nuts and bolts of this music
trigger
provision
were
stark.
explicitly clear.
Athletes would only see
The players
a 50%
would only
cut of
receive a
extra cash if the
50%
league
share of
smashed a very
incremental
specific
revenue
earnings
if
goal.
the entire
That goal was tethered to the 2019 financials, requiring a staggering 20% growth rate every single year. For half a decade, hitting that compounding target music was statistically
compounded by a massive
impossible.
20% growth target
The
every single
organization
subsequent year for
consistently
half a decade.
flopped.
Hitting that
They cried about the global lockdowns. They complained about ad budgets. They whined about bad broadcast music scheduling.
blamed
Yet
the
cold
global
corporate
pandemic.
truth was that
They
the
blamed the
product,
lack of
as
marketing.
it stood,
They blamed
simply
poor
did not
television
appeal to
time
the general
slots.
public.
But
The business was a subsidized money pit, and that revenue,
to a
sharing
mass
option
mainstream
was considered by
audience,
experts to be a
the
ghost
league was a
clause,
massive
something that would
subsidized
never
financial
legally
black
activate
hole,
in our lifetimes.
and that revenue
Then, the single most chaotic economic anomaly in women's athletic history touched down in Indiana.
in our
Music.
lifetime. But then,
Suddenly,
the most disruptive,
the
historically
impossible math
unprecedented
equation
economic force
solves
in the
itself.
history of women's
Just hear the monumental declaration the union is wielding to justify their hardball tactics. For the first time in the organization's 28-year existence, the WNBA made enough money in 2025 to actually pay the players a bonus. The league
with players for
finally
the first
stacked enough
time
cash in
in-
For the first time in the
2025
28-year
to
history of the
trip
organization,
revenue
the
wire.
WNBA
An unprecedented windfall of $8 million is now slated to be actively music split among the athletes across the 13 squads. The Players
unprecedented
Association
pot of
instantly
$8 million
swarmed Twitter,
is
popping
now
bottles
scheduled to
and
be
puffing out their
actively
chests,
dispersed among the
declaring
players on the
music
13
to the globe that this $8 million check is undeniable evidence of their shared worth.
out,
They are
and
leveraging
declaring to
this
the world
specific
that this
event
$8 million
to fuel their
payout is
aggressive
absolute
push for a
definitive proof of their collective
27.5% cut of the gross in the looming 2026 contract talks. They
revenue
are
share
staring
in
down
the
the
upcoming
billionaires and
2026
shouting,
collective bargaining
"Look at what we
negotiations.
made.
They
We
are
hit
looking
your
the billionaire
targets.
owners
Now unlock the safe and give us the money we earned together."
need to
Yet
open
that
the vault
$8
and
million
pay us what we
bonus is
collectively
merely a
deserve.
crumb of the
But the
true
$8 million
wealth transfer
revenue
happening
sharing
in the
pot is
shadows.
only a
The most obvious exposed piece of this financial puzzle hides inside the league's collective licensing rights. In the big
undeniably
leagues,
exposed element
group
of this
licensing
entire
controls
economic
the
narrative
massive,
lies within the league's
gold-plated
group
world of
licensing
physical
revenue.
gear.
In
Music. It dictates the sales of uniforms, branded swag, collectibles, and digital avatars.
merchandise.
Music. It
It
locks
covers
down the
player
rights to
jersey
everything.
sales,
Jerseys,
officially
merch,
licensed
cards,
apparel,
and even
trading
their faces in
cards,
video games.
and digital.
If you dig through the archives of the WNBA's shared revenue history, the figures aren't just disappointing, they're practically humiliating.
Numbers are so
However, the
catastrophically
past
low
year has
that they border
completely
on
shattered
absolute
every rule in
embarrassment.
the playbook
But what just
of
happened
athletic
over the last
branding.
12
You need to hear this staggering explosion in the statistics regarding
licensing
royalty
revenue
income
and the incredibly
shadowy
dark
truth
reality of
behind
what it
who is
actually
really
means for the
cashing those
players
checks
currently
today.
receiving.
Between 2016 and 2019, the total payout was a measly $280,000. Music.
Nobody
It was a
was
ghost
buying
town.
jerseys,
No jerseys moving. No
trading
cards
cards,
selling.
merchandise.
Zero merchandise leaving
None
the
at
shelves.
all.
Absolutely nothing.
None.
Fast forward to the window between 2020 and 2025, and suddenly the pie is getting sliced differently. Over that
2016 to
four-year
the year
stretch
2019,
ending in
a
2019,
4-year span,
the whole Players
the
Association
entire
handed
Players
out a
Union
combined total
dispersed a
of just
grand total of
$280,000.
$280,000.
That was their cut from licensing deals, which basically confirms that for 4 straight seasons, fans were keeping their wallets shut tight across the whole league. The jersey racks were gathering dust. Collectors ignored the cards completely, and the market appetite for league gear was practically zero.
Union
Yet out of
has
nowhere,
suddenly announced
the union
that
drops
they
a
are
bombshell
splitting up an
announcement that they are
astonishing
dividing a pot worth a
$9.25 million
mind-blowing
in licensing revenue.
$9.25 million.
That is a
We are talking about a skyrocketing surge of 3,200% in retail cash. Something totally unheard of. Music.
And the
What's
vast,
more,
overwhelming
nearly every
majority
cent
of that massive
colossal
$9 million pool
fund
was
raked
generated in the
during
last
just
calendar
12
year.
months.
But
now, here is the harsh, unspoken caveat that union bosses are terrified to address when the cameras are rolling.
that
$9.25 million didn't materialize
was not
because hordes of
generated
people
because
suddenly fell in
millions
love
of
with a
fans
benchwarmers jersey
suddenly
in LA,
decided to
or
buy
a
the
backup
jerseys
guard in
of the
Seattle.
backup
Music.
by
The cash flow came
absolute
almost
tidal
exclusively
wave
from a
of
tsunami of
Caitlin
sales
Clark
driven by
apparel,
Caitlin Clark
Caitlin
gear,
Clark
Caitlin
Panini
Clark
trading
collectibles,
cards,
and anything
and
with
Caitlin
Caitlin Clark's
Clark
name on it.
license.
However, thanks to the collective bargaining rules regarding shared licensing, those profits don't just go to the superstar who actually sold the shirts.
Money does
Just
not
hear
strictly
how
belong to the
Nneka
individual who generated the
Ogwumike,
actual sales.
a key
Listen to
figure
Nneka
in the
Ogwumike,
Ply
a prominent
union leadership, lays out the clever but divisive tactic used to funnel cash to the bottom of the roster.
union
She
actively
stated,
employs to protect the
"We
bottom
have
tier of the roster.
evolved as an organization
Quote, we've
and
grown as a
bundled
union and put
our marketing rights into one big group deal." She added that the union's purpose is to stand for every single athlete.
represents
So,
all players,
believe
so I
this
think
method
it's a
allows
great way for
everyone
all
to get a
players to
piece
be
of
able
the
to
pie.
share.
Is greater than. We bundled our marketing rights into one big group deal.
Socialism
That is textbook
operating
corporate
within a
socialism
hyper-capitalist
functioning right
sports
inside
environment.
the ultra-capitalist
The Players
machine
Union
of pro
deliberately
sports.
structures
The association intentionally rigs the licensing deals to ensure that music, the massive
megastar
earnings
are
brought in by
systematically
one
pulled together
once-in-a-lifetime
and
icon,
distributed evenly
are gathered
across
up
the
and
entire
spread thinly
workforce.
among the whole
The
workforce.
union expects
They plan to divvy up this $9 million bounty among more than 250 different people.
we're
That
actively
huge
on the
crowd
rosters in
includes athletes who
2025,
actually played
but
in
it
the
also incredibly
2025
includes players
season.
who have already
Music.
retired from.
But amazingly, it also covers women who have already hung up their sneakers or were cut from their teams entirely.
Mind-bending
Just
reality of
pause
that
and
financial
wrap
structure.
your head
You
around
have
the
former
insanity
WNBA
of
players,
that
women who are no
payout
longer
model.
even actively.
You've got ex-players, people who aren't even lacing up for a game anymore, waiting for a wire transfer of nearly $50,000.
They are
And the
receiving
only
that
reason that
massive
fat
financial
check is hitting their
windfall
account
strictly
is
because
because
millions of
legions
passionate,
obsessed
dedicated
supporters in the Midwest rushed out to buy a rookie's number 22 jersey.
union
The bosses
leadership
spin
calls
this
this
as
sharing
shared
in the growth.
prosperity,
They frame it as a
painting
beautiful,
lovely
unified,
victory
collective
for the
triumph.
sisterhood.
But
But if you look at the cold, hard facts of the industry, music, it's essentially a legalized system of financial leaching. Music, they are riding the Caitlin Clark wave to fund the lives of hundreds of players who couldn't sell a keychain on their own merit.
merchandise
This
revenue on their
glaring
own,
gap
and this
between
incredibly
the
massive disconnect
rainmakers
between
and
who generates the
people
wealth and who.
shouting for a payday is precisely why a lockout in 2026 is basically inevitable. Music, union reps are strutting into negotiations, flashing that $8 million revenue share and the $9 million licensing fund as proof that they deserve a totally new pay scale.
Financial
They are
hierarchy.
convinced these
They
new
believe these
numbers
newly
show
triggered
the whole
benchmarks
league
prove that
has
the entire
leveled up
league
in
has
value.
exponentially.
However, the tycoons on the other side of the conference table weren't born yesterday.
Stupid.
Forget the
They
polished
do not
public
read
statements.
press releases. They
Music.
read proprietary
These guys
data
only care
analytics.
about the
They
proprietary
know exactly where
algorithms.
every
They can trace the origin of every solitary dime that flows into their coffers. And
groups
just in
view
case
the
anyone
current
was
economic
hallucinating about
landscape
how
of
the
the
ownership
league.
class views
Joe
the league's
Tsai
economy,
just completely
Joe Tsai
shattered
just
the
dropped a
illusion.
sledgehammer on that
Joe
fantasy.
Tsai
Joe Tsai isn't some fan with a courtside seat. He co-founded Alibaba. He is a corporate shark of the highest order, music.
Titan,
and the big boss
and
of
the
the New York
primary
Liberty.
owner of the
This
New
is a guy
York
who
Liberty.
built a multi-billion-dollar
He is a man who
kingdom
built
by
his
decoding
entire
complex consumer
multi-billion-dollar
habits. You need to hear how casually and savagely he dismantled the
Players Union's entire
negotiation
collective bargaining
platform
argument
on a hot
microphone
by leaking the specific
by
math
explicitly
on the Caitlin
revealing
Clark
the
effect.
exact
Is greater than. Actually, looking at the WNBA, every single metric skyrocketed.
Went up.
So
this
happened
was last season, right?
precisely
When she first came into
transitioned
the league
from
from college.
and we watched the
And
viewership data go vertical.
we've seen
Is greater than. Ratings, gate receipts, brand deals. The whole board went up nearly 4 times over.
massive
Let that
franchise-altering number echo in your mind for a
burn
moment.
into your brain for a
4x,
second.
a billionaire
4
owner just
times.
publicly
One of the wealthiest owners on earth just verified, using hard league data, that Caitlin Clark's arrival effectively quadrupled the organization's financial footprint in mere months.
financial
When a
footprint
titan
of the
like Joe
organization
Tsai
in a matter of
admits
months.
the charts
When a corporate
jumped
titan like Joe Tsai
400%
admits that
music,
the metrics
strictly because of a single rookie, he isn't offering a compliment. He is music.
employing a
loading
devastating
weapon for the
negotiation
boardroom.
tactic.
He is systematically
destroying the
vaporizing
leverage of the
union's
players'
leverage.
union.
The union wants a 27.5% cut of the gross, arguing the league is in a golden age of collective expansion. But the owners are staring right back
looking back at them and saying, there is no collective growth.
expansion.
The baseline.
The core product is identical to what it was in 2023. That baseline is only responsible for 25% of the pie. The other 75%, that massive
4x multiplier
that
just triggered your $8 million bonus
is named
Caitlin
Clark. You cannot expect billionaire moguls to radically and permanently overhaul their
long-term financial architecture based on the massive unpredictable multiplier of a single generational anomaly.
The owners are fine with letting the union hand out licensing checks and high-fiving over triggered bonuses because those are temporary, one-off payments.
Because those are temporary, one-time payouts. But when it comes to locking in guaranteed long-term structural debt in
a new contract, the owners will flat-out refuse to subsidize a group trying to take credit for a 400% boom they didn't build.
Claim ownership of a 400% spike they did not actually create. The ultimate, deeply profound irony of this entire
standoff is happening in locker rooms across America. The very same veterans who spent all of 2024 trying to dim Caitlin Clark's shine.
The
players who groaned about the media circus.
The players who complained about her.
The ones who delivered hard, cheap shots to test her durability.
And the players who constantly demanded that the media respect the veterans who built the league.
These are the exact same people refreshing their banking apps, salivating over a massive $50,000 licensing payout funded entirely by her jersey sales.
They hate funded entirely by the sale of her jerseys.
They are absolutely
despise the
hooked on
attention
the economy
she
she
receives,
created.
but they are
The WNBA is hurtling toward a financial train wreck.
collision.
The players are blinded by the sudden influx of cash,
influx of cash,
mistaking a localized
economic miracle
victory.
for a
The owners are digging in their heels, armed music.
data
with
that proves the
undeniable
league is highly
spreadsheets
dependent on a
proving the
singular
league is
asset.
riding on the back
When the
of a
current
single
collective bargaining
unicorn.
agreement
When the current deal expires, the union will demand payment for that fourfold spike, and the owners are going to slam the vault shut. So,
what is your unvarnished,
raw,
highly analytical opinion
take
on this massive wealth redistribution?
transfer?
Do
you think the union's licensing scheme is a genius move to protect everyone?
fundamentally
Or is it
unfair
theft
to the
from
superstar who actually
moves
generates the
merchandise?
massive jersey
and more
sales?
importantly, music.
And more
Does Joe Tsai's admission of a 400% jump officially kill the narrative that the league itself is growing?
that the
Drop
entire
your
league is collectively
unfiltered,
growing?
brutally
Drop your
honest
completely
thoughts in the
unfiltered,
comments
highly
below.
analytical thoughts,
If you want the ugly truth about the real business, the real
strategy, and the real
the
cutthroat corporate politics of
pro
professional sports,
smash
hit that subscribe button.
destroy the like button, and ring the bell so you never miss a deep dive. We don't do
Mainstream media fluff
here.
on this
we
channel.
Track the leverage.
We expose
follow
the
money,
leverage.
and we expose the
follow the
mathematical reality
accounting,
behind the
and
press
we
conferences.
reveal the
Catch you on the other side for our next deep dive.